Hi, hi, good
Hi.
morning, Mr. Bacco. While we are solving some technical problems, as you can see, my background is backwards. I
Yeah,
don't know what,
I
how
see
can
you.
I solve this? How
This
can
is
I solve this problem?
amazing, Coach Andy. No problem.
Excuse me?
No problem with you. Your principal program is very good.
But I see my background not, I mean, like the information is backwards.
Uh, I don't know, but I see here's it's not a problem.
Is normal? You see mine as normal? It's
Yeah,
only,
it's normal.
yeah, you see it as you have it in yours? Okay, so, okay.
Okay, wait, Coach Andy, because we have to let the moderator host. Okay.
Yes, I only wanted to make sure that I had everything okay.
Okay. Okay. Miss Ray, time is yours.
Oke, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello, participant. Welcoming and good afternoon to all of our participant international English and Arabic training class batch 5. Okay, today is the first meeting. We will learn, we will learn together with a great speaker. Let's see, Coach Andy Rosalie. Hello, Coach Andy. How are you today?
Hello, I'm
Thank you,
fine.
thank you, Mr. I'm
Okay,
fine. Thank you very much.
okay, Alhamdulillah. Nice to meet you, Coach Andy. Okay, okay, everyone. When I say PLC Indonesia, please to answer together. One teacher, one book, and one thing can change the world. Do you understand? Okay. PLC Indonesia, one teacher, one book, and one thing can change the world. Okay, exactly. International English and Arabic Training Class Batch 5 has collaborated between PLC Indonesia and LDK Shahid Win Jakarta. And today we will learn together with Coach Andy, but we will appreciate to our host. Yeah, we have two hosts. Uh, her name is Haura and Atira and Ziva. Okay, sorry. Haura and Ziva Anju. Okay, but before that, I will talk about with someone of participant of international English training class. Okay, I will talking with Mutia Fatima Azahra, maybe. Hello, Mutia Fatima. Please open your mic. Okay, Mutia Fatima. I cannot see your face. Hello, Mutia.
Yeah,
Okay, where are you from, Mutia?
I'm come from Jakarta.
Okay, come from Jakarta. Right. Uh, may I see your face, Mutia Fatima Azahra? Your name is very beautiful. Okay, Mutia Fatima, I want to know why you want to join this meeting, this training. Maybe you can give a reason about that. Your voice, Mutia, cannot hear. Okay, I think Mutia has problem in with her connection. And now I will talking with Mira from Jakarta. Oh, hello Mira.
Hi. Yes.
Are you a student, Mira?
Yeah, I'm student. in Islamic State University of Jakarta.
Right. And I want to know why you want to join this training.
Well, why I joined this class is because I really want to improve my English skill, and also I realized that English is really important things in nowadays because next years I must looking for a job, and this skill it's really important. So that's the reason why I'm here.
Very good, yeah. And inshallah we will learn and improve my speaking here. Okay. Okay. Anjo. Hello, Kak Ziva.
Hi.
How are you today, Kak Ziva?
Great, thanks for asking.
Okay. Okay, you are the host with the Haura, right?
Correct. Yes, that's correct.
Okay, Ziva. Maybe no time is yours, Ziva, as like host and Haura.
May I ask where Haura is? Because I can't really see her name on the screen.
Haura.
Hello, can you hear me?
Okay,
Hi,
Haura.
Haura.
Okay, maybe we should start our session now. We cannot let the participants wait any longer. So, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello, hi, how was your day, dear participants? Before we start, let's open again with our VLC slogan, which is one teacher, one book, and one thing can change the world. Firstly, hello everyone, my name is Haura, and welcome back to International English and Arabic Training Class Batch 5 by VLC Indonesia in collaboration with LDK UIN Syarif Jakarta. We really appreciate you guys for attending today's meeting, and now let's learn English together. So participants, this is a very, very good opportunity for you guys to learn as much knowledge about English for about an hour and 30 minutes. And of course, today I'm not alone. I'm with Zifa as a panel host from Atira Boarding School.
Thank you, Kahora. Honestly, for me, this is such a great honor to be here. It is such a rare moment to be here. But firstly, allow me to introduce myself. I am Zifa. I am currently a student in 12th grade in SMA Islam Atira Bukit Baruga. So welcome for all participants from all over Indonesia or even abroad, maybe. Hello. And I do hope that everything is okay today. I hope that everyone is okay today. So in today's meeting, there are 3 sessions. The first is opening remarks, the second is presentation from speaker, and the last one is Q&A. And then what should we do next, Kak? Aura?
Thank you for asking, Kazifa. Now I'm going to read a little bit of rules before we start our first session. First of all, please mute your microphone except when the host let you speak. Second, let's keep our camera on so we know each other, we know each other's face, we can get to know each other better. And third, please rename with your nickname, _town, _Indonesia. Or if you're from another country, please rename yourself to nickname _country if you're from abroad. If you want some example, for example, me, I am from Indonesia, Bandung, so I will rename myself to Haura _Bandung _Indonesia. And if you're from America, for example, you can rename yourself to your name _America. What's next, Kazifa?
So next up for number 4, you can ask questions in the chat room or click the raise button. Then you may ask directly in the Q&A session. And the last, there is an attendance list on the last 10 minutes of the meeting. So make sure that you will stay with us until the end. And yes, for all participants, please do not forget to save a screenshot when joining this meeting today, because later on, you will have to upload it when filling in your form of your attendance. So is there anything else, Kahora?
Yes, a little bit more things. As you guys know, we recommend you guys to also use the background we prepared that you can get from the WhatsApp group or from the Zoom chat that we have prepared for you here. So maybe we should move on to our first session, right? We should invite perhaps Mr. Bako for opening remarks. Mr. Bako, the floor is yours. Hi, hello, Mr. Baker, are you there?
Hello, everyone. Can you hear my voice, Ziva and Haura?
Hi, Mr. Baker.
Can you hear my voice?
Yes, clear. We can hear your voice clear.
Okay, thank you so much for time. Today, especially from my best coach, Coach Andy from Spain. So it's a really amazing one for me and for us. I'm over the moon every time when I see Coach Andy today. So, welcome back in International English, and this is really the unique one, different one because, and also like there's Arabic training class, and this is batch 5 by VLC Indonesia in collaboration with LDK, Jakarta University Islamic actually in, and then here's I would like to talk to you guys because we have 8 meetings, especially for on Saturday and Sunday, and we invite a lot of speakers. The experts come from any countries in the world, and then here's all of you guys. You can get some knowledge. And so, like in the first meeting, we're talking about CFR that you want to know your English level. That I think you can get from Coach Andy Leathers. How to know your English level. I mean like that. And then I hope you too that you have to be serious to join here to take a part in this program because I really very amazing one because you can see you can meet the expert English from another countries like Coach Andy, and then and also you can VLC Indonesia can give you like slides from the speakers like the first day Coach Andy. No worries, guys, and also we recording here that you want to know everything. And the last one, I would like to say thanks too much for all supporting teams, especially like to be our sponsorship, Atira Baruga, yes, from Makassar. And thank you so much for UNASMA University and also like JPUP Makassar, yes, Steve Tridharma Nusantara Makassar, and Mr. Bob also from Kediri, Surabaya, Java. And all of the super special for my collaboration LDK Sarif Hidayatullah Jakarta. Thank you so much for all the communities. Yes, until you can like manage everything until we can meet in the first day this noons. So Coach Andy, thank you so much for times. Every time, every day, you always come to VLC Indonesia to share your knowledge for all the Indonesian people here. And I would like to say thank you so much for Ziva and Jemari. You are the best generation of Indonesia and Haura Bandung because this is the new student of university. And thank you so much for your coming here. You are really splendid speech. You are really amazing host to conduct here. And then thanks to all for participants. I hope that you can enjoy food to join here. I think enough for me. I'm Mr. Bako as a founder of VLC Indonesia. Enjoy these moments. Thank you. I will be back to Ziva and Haura. Thanks, yours.
Thank you so much, Mr. Beko, for your splendid speech. Now let's move on to our main session, which will be a presentation for our coach, Coach Andy. But before that, maybe Ziva, could you please read a little bit of biography of Coach Andy, perhaps?
Of course, I can't wait for getting more knowledge and getting something new. But before that, I will read first about our today's speaker biography. So her name is Coach Andy. She came all the way from Spain, and today she will share some more knowledge regarding on how to know your English level based on your CEFR.
Yes, she's going to share a lot of wonderful knowledge with us. Maybe perhaps some of you guys here already take your proficiency English test. Maybe Ziva, have you taken it before?
Yeah, I've done my CEFR test. I think it was like last year. For my result, I think I received C1.2.
Wow, that's cool. You're almost like native speakers. Me, wow. I think almost perhaps like B2 or C1.
That's impressive.
Yeah, but of course, let's not wait any longer. Perhaps later on, Coach Anders is going to give us a lot more strategies, techniques, and tips for improving our English levels.
I'm very excited. So I think let's invite Coach Andy. Hi.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me again. As always, I am honored to be here because you cannot imagine how happy it makes me to share the little or much knowledge that I can have. And so let's get the party started. I'm really excited to start. So should I share the presentation already?
Yes, we are looking forward for that. And yes, please, the time is yours.
Okay, everybody. So here we go. This session is going to be participative, meaning that you guys can chat, you can, share the answer. I don't want you guys to be there just, like passively receiving information. I want you guys to participate. So here we go. All right, so I'm going to share my screen. And in case that I start breaking up or that there is like any audio issue, please let me know because I will be focused here and I might not notice. Okay, so I will appreciate your help. Okay, everybody, so what's your English level? This is the $1 million or rupees, I must say, question. I don't know. The thing is that how to really understand your English level based on CEFR or CEFR or CFR. There are many different pronunciations here. The most important thing is that we know that we're talking about this very specific language frame. Okay, so here we go. Before we start, I am asking really this question. What's your English level? Let's take a, let's think about it. Do we know? Do we have a little bit of a guess? Because you guys were discussing before, like, oh, I have this level, I have this other level. Sometimes we do have a certification that actually validates this, this level per se, right? But we as educators know very well, and also as learners know that what is sometimes on paper sometimes really doesn't reflect on the real skills the students have. Because Ms. Horace said that she was like, no, maybe a B2. I was like, she's C2. What are you talking about? honestly, I was like, no. So when we're talking about levels, before I start, I wish you guys to bear an open mind. Here we go. So as Siva here was mentioning, yes, I am based in Spain, but I am originally from Copenhagen, Denmark. And for those who would like to follow me, these are my Instagram and TikTok handle. And here's a little bit of background so you know where my expertise comes from. So I've been already teaching English for over 14 years now, but I do hold a major in journalism, a postgraduate degree in business administration, and an MBA. I do also specialize in ESL students, English as a second language, for those who don't know what ESL is, specifically in the areas of business English in this moment, mainly to activate business English speaking skills. And of course, one of my passions, exam certifications, in this case, because I am based in Europe, I am specializing on the Cambridge exam, specifically the B2 and C1 level. And currently, one of the best things that have ever happened right now to me is to keep enhancing and broadening my knowledge in applied linguistics. Everything I do is to better your experience as students and perhaps as colleagues and educators. So this is a conversation within peers, if we may. So where we were. What will we talk about? We will have a brief introduction. What's CFR? Understanding CFR levels, key differences between the levels that can help us identify easily the levels in case that we are assessing a student, how to assess a person's level, and then the role of CFR in language learning. So here we go. It is really that important to know your English level. So some people as most of my students answer will always say, it depends. And I do agree. It really depends on what your personal experience with the language is. But nevertheless, there are some 5 fundamental points to consider from my point of view. The first one, and this is part of my teaching style, is that I always go from the inside to the outside. If we are not balanced, mentally balanced in the sense that we are in good terms with the language that we are acquiring, we are never going to feel comfortable enough with it. So for me, one of the most important things about understanding where are you when it comes to your English level is about boosting your confidence. Understanding your ability enhances confidence in English language, meaning that since you know where you are, the only way that you can move is forward. So instead of, if you are a lower level, instead of feeling like, wow, I have to move on multiple steps in order to achieve what in my head should sound as an ideal level, and feel as if the task is really far away from us to achieve. I actually believe that knowing the level and compartmentalizing the level helps us understand that, kind of like when we have a to-do list, that we have kind of like a checkbox. So for me, that's how I see it. And therefore, since I am very visual, it does boost my confidence. Then subsequently, it comes personal growth, helps in setting realistic goals. How important it is to set realistic goals when it comes to tracking our progress. It's not that we are, big dreamers and whatever it is that we want cannot be achieved, but the person that we are at the moment, the learner that we are at the moment might not be the learner that we are in the next 6 months or year. So who are you as a learner right now will determine the goals, the learning goals that we set for ourselves. Then select suitable learning resources. The online platforms out there, such as Instagram, TikTok, let not even mention Google, YouTube, they allow us to a universe of knowledge, but sometimes we might feel frustrated or that we're not achieving those goals that I am mentioning on the previous point, because sometimes those goals are not suitable, meaning that they're not aligned to what we might know, and we always go for more instead of using what we already have. Sometimes it happens, not only with knowledge, even with the clothes that we have in our closet. We just want more. We just put it in the closet and then we close it, and then we're like, oh, I forgot that I have this. The same thing happens with language, right? Then for mid-educational career requirements, what do I mean with this? English proficiency is often needed for university admissions and jobs. Also, if we are looking to emigrate to another country, a certain level might be required, or certification might be asked. Like, for example, if you're moving to Canada, they have very specific immigration requirements. So having a knowledge of your level allows you to focus, if this is one of your goals, to focus a lot better and tackling what you want faster. And then finally, number 5, global engagement and mobility. This one assists in adapting when traveling or relocating to English speaking regions and facilities. But you know what? This morning when I was reading again my presentation, like relocating to English-speaking regions doesn't necessarily have to be like that, because officially there are 86 countries plus that accept the English language as their official language. Doesn't mean their main language necessarily, but official, meaning that it is accepted. And let's face it, English has been the lingua franca, meaning the language that is spoken around the world in very wide way. So wherever we go, if we learn English, we can communicate. Yes. Therefore, providing a wider exposure and opportunities, right? So what is CEFR? Now that we understand why to learn, where are we when it comes to know our level, okay, what is CEFR or CFR? Okay, as a general idea, as I mentioned before, this letters here, this acronym stands for the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages. And it is an international standard for describing language ability. And I will highlight the fact that it's an international standard for describing language ability, because even though, for example, right now, we are maybe in Asia, I can use as an educator around the world, yes, the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages, the CFR. I can use it in order to plan or to work inside the classroom, okay? In this case, what is it that, oh, I'm going to silence this person. Hello, welcome, and thank you for coming. Okay, so as I was saying, what is it for? So it is used around the world to describe learners' language skills. And let's understand the word describe. Sometimes as educators, it is difficult to, and this is something that I don't like either, but we need a starting point. And in order for us to be more successful and more coherent in the classroom, and in order to teach, we need to know where our students are standing. So we're more capable to provide a more coherent class, right? So there you go. It describes the learner's language ability. And as you guys perhaps already know, the CFR is divided in 6 levels, okay? Going from the A1 for beginners, going from A1 for beginners to C2 for those that have mastered the language. And I am using my air quotes here because we'll talk about this later on. Basically, it makes easy for everyone involved teaching or learning the language understand in simple words what is it that you have gained linguistically. Yes? Are we good? Okay. So when we go to the CFR page, official page, I found this logo, or well, it's not a logo. It's kind of like an infographic. Yes, there it is. It's kind of like an infographic because I do love the fact that it starts very little, but when it comes to what we can control within the language, okay? But nevertheless, it's separated. A lot of teachers, for example, love to use, oh, this is basic language, this is intermediate language, or this is advanced language. But what does it mean? Personally, it makes me a little angry when, I see around the internet when teachers out there market a language in the way that people who are linguistically speaking in different levels, they feel like, oh, so I cannot use this or that word, or I am not ready to use this or that expression, okay? Remember that our experience in our learning journey is very different, is as different as many people are in a classroom, okay? So the thing is that whatever it is that you see out there, it is very simplistically and poorly described, and it doesn't really have to do with your description as an English learner, okay? So yes, we have these different levels, and yes, they are for us to understand, as I said before, where to move forward. So let's understand them. Okay, so understanding A1 level. Before I move forward, I would like to erase this thing. Okay, there it is. It is a little bit distracting. Okay. Okay, so understanding A1 level. Whenever we're talking about levels, it is really important to focus on the fact that we have our 4 skills, right? We have our reading skills, we have our listening skills, speaking, and writing. And even though we might be in a level, our proficiency in each one of these skills will vary and can vary very differently. For this reason, it is quite difficult to say that you are just an A1. Well, maybe if you're a good reader, if you have a good level in your own language as a reader, maybe when you are learning the language in a little bit more passive way as when it comes to reading, hey, perhaps your reading comprehension is higher than that. Do you see? So as I said before, let's keep our minds open. So very quickly here, what does it mean to be an A1? To be an A1 is that we can use everyday expressions, basic phrases like, hello, my name is, or where's the bathroom, things like this, okay? And that they're clear, short, and simple messages. We can understand when we are an A1 level, we can understand like specific words, basic phrases, names, recognizing, for example, posters, catalogs, etc. Again, in a basic way. Basic doesn't mean that you cannot understand more. It's just that when it comes to receiving an information, when it's clear, when it's there without lots of decoration, when you are an A1, you can get it right away without much analyzing or translation in your head, okay? Because yes, it is absolutely natural. In case that you guys are like, oh no, I'm the only one in the world that translates in my head. No, everybody does that, especially if you are in an initial level. That's it. Everybody does it. It's natural. We're all humans. Okay. And then when it comes to writing, because I encourage to always work the 4 skills since level A1, we need this. We need to enhance people's skills as equally as possible so they can grow as equally as possible, okay? All right, so here's where I want your participation. Okay, we're in the classroom and we've got our students that are A1 level and we give them an exercise that looks like this. Okay, teachers or learners that are here today, can you give me the answers? Everybody's kind of like, of course, Andy, this is a walk in the park. This is like super easy, right? So let's see how it looks like. What we expect is that our students, when it comes to grammar or vocabulary, which is, one of the things that we tend to focus the most, okay, when we're teaching, especially basic levels, is, give them grammar and vocabulary, which is obvious because how are you going to build a house without having the skeleton or the structure, right? Let's understand A2. Here, when it comes to A2 is when things starts to get a little bit more exciting. Suddenly, when we are an A1 and we move to A2, we discover as not only educators, but also as learners that we can give local geography settings, like, for example, giving directions, right? Which is never easy. It doesn't matter if you're a local, a native speaker, or whatever, it's never easy. I just go to Google Maps. Anyways, in this case, we can talk a little bit more when it comes to, what is it that we do for a living, or to talk about our families, our likes, dislikes. And for example, here we can give more information or understand information when it comes to ads, menus, and timetables. We can handle short social exchanges. This is so important in order for us to boost our confidence. Go out there, speak. The only way that we're going to learn is to making mistakes. This false idea of being perfect from day one or ever is a fallacy. Is totally is marketing. So I'm sorry, guys, this doesn't exist. This is a very romanticized idea that we have out there. And to be honest, as just a person on this planet and an educator, I think that this causes so much damage. But anyways, I think that everybody has an opinion about that, right? Okay. And there you go. When it comes to writing, they can, for example, write simple notes, and not only simple notes, but convey that idea clearly about what is it that they want or need. So an exercise for an A2 looks like this, right? Very similar, but hey, we start working with, for example, different tenses. The progression that goes from A1 to A2 is very quick. It's very, very quick. And please bear in mind that what I am showing you guys here, it is in a wide spectrum of ages and backgrounds, meaning that it is a false idea and belief that, this is like for children, or that we just learn it when we are just kids or elementary school, right? Because again, what happens to our adult or a young adult learner who is in this stage, he or she is going to be mortified because they are going to feel like, oh, this is something that I was supposed to learn when I was in elementary school. What happened if this person didn't have the opportunity? So I always recommend to use a vocabulary of engagement and invitation rather than limiting and labeling our students, okay? So this is how it looks like when it comes to the answer. You guys already knew that. Let's make it a lot more interesting. Okay. So now is what I call the eternal intermediate level. Yes, everybody says like, oh, I'm an intermediate, but what does it mean being an intermediate, right? Here is where we show this intermediate skills, okay? As I say here, they can comprehend main points in clear speech, text on familiar subjects, including work, school, or leisure. It doesn't change much from A2, right? But what is it that makes it different? Vocabulary. The level of understanding when it comes to B1 level is vocabulary mastering. And this is really, I'm going to use a very, because I was teaching yesterday my teenagers, so I'm going to use their words. It's really cool because they always say, oh, teacher, this is very cool, cool. And I'm going to say the same thing. It's really cool because you start realizing that, hey, I am using a lot of words of vocabulary, not only actively, because we have a set of vocabulary and grammar and knowledge that is active, which is the words and vocabulary and patterns that we use every day, and the one that is passive that is a lot larger than that. Therefore, when we read a text, we have a lot more understanding, even though those words that we read on the text, we don't use them every day. Okay, so active and passive knowledge. There you go. Okay. So they can handle most situations when traveling. This is awesome. I have to stop hanging with my teenagers. I start talking like them. Okay, then conversationally, they can engage in discussions. And this is where I think it's so wonderful, because I do encourage critical thinking from A1 and A2 level. But what does it mean engaging on critical thinking when it comes to discussions? When we are able to express or give an opinion on a subject, a topic, or whatever it is that we are into, I think that this enhances your capability to express yourself, and listening to that makes you want to do it a lot more. And then again, writing. I am a big fan of writing. I will always include it in my activities because it allows the student and gives them time to analyze what is it that they're saying. In a way that it's more comfortable sometimes than speaking, because speaking happens, on the spot. And for some people, it is so hard, yes, to transition from what is happening in your head to verbalize it, okay? So if the more you read, the more you write, believe it or not, the easier will be for you to create oral expression. Okay. All right. So this is what an exercise for B1 looks like. Okay. But then look at this. Here, I'm not matching. Here, I'm not. Yes, here, use the words in sentences. I am asking my students to actually create, not fill in the gaps. Yes, I try to do those kind of exercises the least possible in the classroom, because those are to verify if you know something, rather than just letting the student create the answer. For this reason, and many others, of course, but mainly most of our workbooks are fill in the gaps. And of course, our students, they are intelligent people, and they are gonna be like, I know this, and they fill in the gaps marvelously, right? But then when it comes to communicating or trying to create a much more complex idea, they are like, okay, I have no clue what is it that I want to say, how to create, how to produce, right? There you go. Okay. So the answer, yes. Okay. Okay. Here is where a lot of people get stuck, okay? When we are transitioning from the B1 to the B2. Depending on how much exposure we have to the language, we can go back and forth. And we can go back and forth because maybe there is a period in your life where you use it every day, and then maybe that decreases. And for this reason, you kind of like go back in your skills, okay? And whatever it is that was active one time, it becomes passive. But this doesn't mean that you're not as good as before. It just means that you are rusty. So you have to brush it off, okay? You have to polish it a little bit to go back on track. So what does a B2 level looks like? Guys, a B2 level shows significant degree of independence, meaning that a B2 level can easily be in this master class, for example, and perfectly understand, let's say 70% of what is said, okay? For example, the choice of my words are very specific and neutral level. Okay, so a wider degree of people can understand it, because that is important too. Whenever we want to communicate to our students, what is it that we want to show them? We want to connect with them. As teachers and educators, we want to connect with them and engage, or we want to be distant and sound almighty and, oh yes, I am your teacher and I know everything. And for this reason, I am using this list of pompous words. Doesn't work. I prefer the first one. I prefer to connect with my people. I prefer to connect with my students and with, with the mentality of the CFR, here I can see that a B2 learner can understand extended speech in lectures, as we are right now, complex topics. And here's where things get interesting. They can comprehend most TV news and current affairs programs, film standards, etc. You know that on the internet, when they say, watch films, okay, but what kind of films? Listen to podcasts, okay, but which kinds of podcasts? That kind of advice is very general and, quite frankly, really not helpful. Because if I am a person who is a B1 or B2, or I am not sure where am I am going to be frustrated if I go ahead and maybe pick a podcast that is a subject that I really like, but the speakers are very technical, perhaps. Yes, it's going to be frustrating. I'm going to try my best, but it's going to be frustrating at first. My advice, if you are really into the subject, try to go for it and try, once more, or keep the same subject, but change the podcast. There are millions out there. Everybody has a podcast right now. So there you go. You can just go ahead and choose. Here, B2 learners can interact with native speakers. I would like to erase the word native speaker. I would like to say locals, okay? And there is a real reason why I have the word native speaker makes me cringe, okay? And it makes me cringe because we all have a first language, a main language. We all were born within a language, right? But this crazy, and I would like to use that adjective, this crazy idea of, trying to keep up with a native speaker is not only unrealistic, but also, again, marketing. Okay, so when our goal is to sound as a native speaker, well, let me tell you, that's never going to happen, because not because you can't, is because there are things that physically happens in language that makes that an impossibility. Okay, so let's forget about that nonsense. I rather encourage you to be capable communicators, for the locals can understand you. How that sounds? Doesn't sound it doesn't sound intimidating anymore, huh? It doesn't sound like something that is unachievable. It sounds more terrain. It sounds more like, oh, okay. It's not like it sounds like something that's gonna happen in this lifetime, right? Also, I think that, so I can finish with this parenthesis about native speakerism. The fact that we continue talking about native speakers versus non-native speakers, I think that for everybody that is in this room, including myself, because I speak other 3 languages, I think that it creates this unnecessary barrier, that it is an obstacle professionally and personally, because we will always be personally, we will feel that maybe we can be less than a native speaker, which is absolutely illogical. And in certain jobs, they will use this as a weapon in order for you to feel that whatever it is that you have accomplished is never going to be enough because you're not a native speaker. So that we have to end it. And how can we do that? We educators being the first ones in the classroom to transmit it to our students. Therefore, when I'm talking about levels, I am only talking about this is how you should be in. This is what you should be doing when you are in this level, okay? But it doesn't mean that I am comparing it to anything or anyone, okay? And that is, I think that is paramount to understand this CFR frame, okay? All right, so our beautiful students that are B2, we give them an exercise and it looks like this. And when it comes to vocabulary exercises, we can ask them to write short paragraphs, right? We ask them to kind of like expand, give me more details about whatever topic. This helps with their mental organization when they're giving a message. And this is the answer. Okay. Okay. And then here we are with, you know, the beautiful C1 levels. And I say beautiful because if you are here, wow, your commitment to the language is like awesome. And also, not only that, it also shows that maybe you have a talent for languages, which is something that a lot of teachers forget to mention our students. I was never good at math. I was awful at math. But this doesn't mean that I didn't have other intelligences that allowed me to expand my other knowledge. So let's not label and put people in boxes. So in this case, effective operational proficiency. What does it mean? It means that when you're a C1 level, you can clearly structure or signal explicitly, meaning that you do not need to spend so much time thinking in what is it that you want to say. You just go ahead and say it. Sometimes you will make mistakes, sure, but you just go ahead. You don't care that much anymore. About understanding, for instance, factual or literary texts. Literary texts are the ones that we, for example, if we are at university or if we're reading poems, that is what I mean. And the same thing happens when it comes to our writing. Yes, usually B2, actually to be more honest, C1 is the level that is required, for example, if you want to enter university. Yes, that is the one that they require because you're going to be exposed to material that is quite complex and that needs a lot of analysis. Therefore, this is what they expect from you, okay? But if this is your goal, hey, nothing is impossible. The only thing that you got to do is to organize yourself. Therefore, go to an academy, a teacher, a tutor, so you make a plan and go for it, okay? Things in lives happen only if we go for it. Okay, then this is how an exercise would look like. And apparently I gave the answer first, and let me see. Yeah, I inverted. Okay, guys, so this was supposed to be the activity. This was supposed to be the activity where I asked my students to rewrite the sentence using the passive voice. Yes, okay, and here it is. And the vocabulary, right? So this is the answer, okay? So forget about this one. This was a mistake. Do you see? We all make mistakes. All right, so here it is. This is how it looks like. And then finally, C2. C2 is where like we have mastered the language, but we never really will because, and I'm not talking as second language learners. I'm talking even if you are a first language speaker, a native speaker, yes. I think that not everybody gets to understand as deeply as, as an academic, for example, or a specialist, a language. So let's just say that C1 is when we effortlessly understand everything in percentages, 99%, 98% of something. Yes. When you, for example, can work with abstract knowledge. Yes, you can decode it easily. Remember that languages are codes that we have to learn. And therefore, for some reason, we feel very comfortable with these codes called languages. For others, where it is absolutely alien to go through them. And then, okay, it is important to understand that all of this will vary based on the personal learning experience the student has. Is this person a traveler? Is this person someone that lives in a multicultural family? Is this a person that has been to university or is in a business level? Are they good with languages? All those things have to be taken in consideration. Okay, you can take a screenshot if you like, okay, but don't worry, I'm going to share this with with Mr. Bacco anyways, because I would like you to have this presentation anyways. So the key differences between the levels, here it is. There are subtle nuances, but it is important to understand that when we are from B2 to C1 to C2 is when those nuances start being a lot more wider and broadened, because maybe what we expect or as teachers or as universities, institutions, etc., might vary from this point to this point. Okay? Okay. Are we good till here? Okay, so a couple more things before we leave. 3 tips to assess a person's English level, okay? After all the jibber jabber, but I thought that it was really interesting for you guys to really understand what these levels entail. Okay, so I have a student or I have someone that asks me, okay, so what's my level? Okay, these are 3 things that you guys can do. We all have done placement tests, okay? But how do we know that is the correct one? There are many. I like to use the level tests from the British Council and also from the Cambridge exam. They are online. They're very easy. Students can take a screenshot and then send it to you. It's very friendly, user-friendly, okay? Of course, there are other placement tests that you can create in order to have a very specific idea of your students' level. Then, what happens if you don't have time to do a placement test, which is recommendable when a student is, for example, when they want to enter a certification course, okay? The same as here when they evaluating their writing samples. Certification courses are the ones that maybe require the first and the last one. But if you're just in an interview with a student and this person like, okay, where should I go? This group or that group? I think that as we engage with our students in more simple and complex, we evolve from more complex topics, it's going to be easy for us to allocate them in a group, okay? Yes? Okay. So the role of CFR in language learning. Again, it goes in 2 dimensions. As Dr. Brian Nord, researcher and consultant to the Council of Europe since 2001, and one of the main people to go when it comes to the CFR, okay? So he says that we use CFR as reference points when it comes to the levels to help people to situate their efforts in relation to each other and create networking, yes, communication, and increase transparency of qualifications. For me, this is really important because it's not only about what you say, it is really important also to demonstrate that knowledge. For this reason, we go to college and receive a diploma. For this reason, we do a course, we receive a diploma, okay? Yes? Maybe people in the same classroom will receive the same diploma as you did, right? We know it. And maybe we know that that person that have received the same diploma as you did might not be the brightest student in the classroom, okay? But it is up to you to show that, well, you've got the knowledge or you don't. Then a vision for educational reform and pedagogical innovation. For me, this is actually really important because these are the different pedagogical, this is why you shouldn't speak so fast, pedagogical approaches that happens in the classroom. So in this case, for instance, my personal favorites are here: action-oriented approach, mediation, plurilingualism. Plurilingualism is when I allowed my students to speak in the 2 or even 3 languages they are navigating, yes, so they can communicate their ideas easier. Total physical approach, TPR, I use it with children and adults, it's wonderful. And communicative language teaching, CLT, and so on and so on, okay? So these are our key takeaways. We are almost done with our presentation. If you guys want to take a screenshot of this one. Also, I think that understanding CEFR levels is important in order for us to guide our students better and also to help ourselves to plan for them. To use effective assessment techniques. We shouldn't just do things based on a guess or a hunch, a feeling. Yes, even though we have been in the teaching business for years, I should always be safe and provide my students different assessment techniques in order to know if this person is only whatever level in their speaking, but maybe they are more advanced level in their writing, which is something that can be easily fixed. Because if I based a person's level only when they're with their speaking and I situate them in a classroom where it's lower, whereas they have a much more higher levels when it comes to the reading comprehension, writing, and so on, they are going to get frustrated and therefore leave. Various teaching approaches, as I mentioned before, it is important for us to work with, different techniques so we can cater better our students in this diverse language world. And thank you for your time, everybody. I really appreciate it. And well, let's start the Q&A.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for delivering such excellent lessons today, Coach Andy. Let's give Coach Andy applause. Woo! What's next, Azifa?
Wow, I'm actually very glad that I got to gain more knowledge regarding this topic, and I'm so grateful for that. And now, sadly, we're coming to the end of our activity today, which is the Q&A session. We will have 30 minutes to ask questions to Coach Andy. But dear participants, don't forget that we will have an attendance list by the end of this meeting. So make sure that you're still with us. So I think that this is a very rare moment where you get the chance to ask questions regarding the CEFR levels to Coach Andy. So is there anyone who wants to ask questions maybe?
Right, you can ask your question through your chat if, for example, you don't want to ask directly, or if you want to ask directly to Coach Andy, you can press that raise hand button. It's up to you guys.
Correct. Or even if you want to ask the questions in Bahasa, that's also okay. Me and Laura is also available to translate.
We're good with that. Or maybe Kazifa, do you have any questions to Coach Andy perhaps?
After hearing all of those information regarding the CEFR level, I am actually very excited to take another CEFR lesson, CEFR test.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Perhaps I would like to ask one question first to Coach Andy. I think it's not really that connected with CFR, but I have a lot of friends who, well, they know how to speak English, but they have a problem with the accent. They say that they do not have native, not native, the local accent. And they say they want to have an accent where maybe like British or American accent. Perhaps is there any activities or any things that they can do to make their to have the confidence boost in their accent, perhaps?
Same case with me.
Yeah, thank you for this. Yeah, I really love that you have asked this because I was really waiting for somebody to talk about accents, you know. Why do we consider that accents or having this or that accent is a problem?
I think it's not, well, it's my friends, so I didn't ask them yet, but perhaps sometimes, well, we have talked to local speakers before, and the local speakers unfortunately cannot understand what my friend were speaking. They were speaking English, but they could not understand what they're speaking, and my friend thought it was because of their accents. So maybe is there anything that we could do to, boost their confidence in their own accent, perhaps?
Yes, the most important thing is to tell our students or friends is that they don't have a problem. Communication happens within two lines. If you are communicating something and the other person is not making an effort to understand what is it that you're saying, then communication is failing, but not maybe for the lack of desire or that you're trying or proficiency from one side. Remember that monolinguals, and this usually happens for people that are monolinguals, okay, don't have this plasticity and capacity to maybe comprehend what the other person is saying. So this can be problem number one, okay? And this is a problem more for the other person more than, in this case, your friend that was trying to convey an idea, okay? Number two, accents are beautiful. Doesn't matter if you're a local, doesn't matter if you're a second language learner. And why do I say that they are beautiful? Because in so many ways, they are kind of like a presentation card to your cultural identity, personal identity, whatever it is. Okay? This said, it doesn't really mean that accents have to be that important, because accents also carry a lot of baggage, meaning that sometimes we want to sound in a specific way because we don't want to be marginalized, okay? Or sometimes we want to sound in a specific way because we want to belong to that group a lot faster. So there are other things that are related to the language, but they are not intrinsic to the language. These are more social factors that we, as people who are learning a language that is secondary to us, okay, but we need in a way, yes, we have to bear in mind. And I think that this is actually really important when it comes to our confidence, because when we start believing from a very early age that the way that I sound is wrong in the eyes of the person that I am giving that message, is where my desire to communicate shuts down. For this reason, we need to be very strong as friends and educators to cater this in the classroom. And finally, my advice would be focus more on pronunciation and enunciation rather than accent, because accents in the end, well, if you just go to the United States, you're going to find at least 8 that are official. Let's not go to other states that they are like very specific, and not to mention other Englishes around the world. So this is really complex. So when we see, oh, British or American accent, this is, forget about that. That is marketing. Did I answer your question?
Yes, I'm sure you answer my friend's question. I will not forget to convey your advice, and I'm sure they'll be happy to hear your advice. Thank you once again, Coach Andy. Okay, I think, Zifa, we have a question in the chat box. Perhaps you could read it for us?
Yeah, definitely. So this is from Henny. So he said that I have taken placement tests by British Council and my level is B1. If I want to join B2 exam on December 9th, can I? And also he asked that, do you have the B2 class preparation for me, and how long for the B2 class preparation? And if I want to apply a job with certificate, which is preferred B2 CEFR certificate or IELTS for Cambridge Frame Level School.
Okay. Perhaps this is what most people sometimes are thinking, okay, so how can I do it and do it fast, right? Because we want everything fast. Languages doesn't happen like that. people. Languages is not like fraying an egg. Okay. I mean, I would love it to happen that way. But no, it doesn't happen like that. So the thing is that if you are currently a B1, okay, and you want to join the B2, my question is, what kind of certification exam? Because in most situations, choosing a specific exam because of the structure of the exam can be a lot more challenging, even though you are perhaps already, a B2 level, because sometimes that structure doesn't help you. Okay. One of the most complex exams out there are, as mentioned, the Cambridge and the IELTS, which they're in some way different in structure, but in essence, they evaluate the same thing, right? But they are different in structure. And this can make your goal to achieve the B2 level as in a certification a lot more difficult. And here, do you have a B2 class preparation? For me, well, this is different. We can talk later. How long for the B2 class preparation? It's up to you. When we're talking, my students, for example, sometimes needs lots of leveling up. I do allow them to be in the B2, but there are people who already are B2 levels and they only need to prepare for the exam. And then there are people who are in the process of becoming a B2 level, but they want to prepare for the certification exam and therefore they belong to another group. Do you see? So it depends and it's up to you. How many hours do you spend studying so you can achieve it? Do you see? By the way, about the amount of time that you need, there is in the Cambridge page, there is a specific amount of time that you should put in order to achieve a level. So there you go. You can just go there and find out.
Okay, thank you, Coach. So is there any other questions? I think this is a very rare moment and you guys definitely shouldn't miss out.
Yeah, and we have around perhaps 40 minutes until the Q&A session ends. So please, guys, you should use this opportunity to ask anything that you would like to Coach Andy.
I agree. And don't forget, if you're interested, we still have more course tomorrow and every weekend on August.
Okay, there's one question from Amel from Jakarta. Dear Coach Andy, could you please share with us recommend website links, social media, or others as a learning resource for us to learn, practice, and improve our CFR level? Thank you.
Of course, and you guys can already find it there. I was going to share it anyways. This is the official page for the CFR. There are infinite resources, PDFs, videos that if you're interested, in expanding your knowledge and how you can approach this in a multicultural classroom, this is wonderful for you to go to. Also, they have improved their page, their web page in this year, and in February 2023, there was, they revised the web page, so most of the material is new and it's great.
Thank you.
Thank you once again, Coach Andy. Ziva, maybe you could read the next question here.
Yep. So we have Kaka from Jakarta. He said that, at first I have confidence feelings about my English, but someday my teacher asked us to write an essay. And from that, I realized my grammar was not good. I know it's okay because I'm learning, but sometimes it makes me not confident to speak. So how do you become confident?
Confident at writing, right? That's basically, yeah.
I guess it says writing here, yeah. So. Yeah.
All right, guys. So again, I'm loving all the questions because it happens to me as well, and I think that this happens to anybody. This happens to anybody who wants to do something as complex as an essay. And I'm telling you this because right now I am doing a course on writing. Yes, because I like to keep myself, with the knowledge fresh so I can share more and more with my students. And let me tell you, conveying your ideas and structuring them in order to make it easy for another person to read is very, very hard. Doesn't matter the language, doesn't matter the level, it's very hard. So what is it that you can do? There are two things that I would invite you to do. Number one, really learn the structure of essay writing. If you know what is the structure that you are going to work in, it's going to be a lot easier for you to basically prepare the writing. And number two, which is the most important, plan. A lot of people just go in front of the computer or a piece of paper and they stare at the piece of paper for like 20 minutes and kind of like, I have lots of ideas, you know, moving in my head, but nothing comes through. So structure and plan, okay? Using the structure, your planning should go like, okay, what should I, which should be my title, which should be my introduction, the body, and then the conclusion. If you do that, and I'm gonna give you a better tip, if you answer the questions or the focuses that you're working on in your planning, you're gonna do that essay in no time.
Thank you so much. Is there any other?
Yes, if you would like to ask question once again, you could just type it in the chat box, or you could ask directly by pressing the raise hand button.
And again, as I've said before, you can maybe ask in Bahasa, and Kak Haura will be available to translate your question.
Yeah. Okay, I think I have a question here. I think it was sent direct message, so perhaps they would like to stay anonymous, but let me read it for you guys. Hello, Coach Andy. I would like to ask, which one is easier? Is it the CEFR test, the IELTS test, or the TOEFL test? Thank you. Okay, perhaps Coach Andy could answer that.
But this is actually a really important question, because in the end, which one should I choose? Well, it depends on your needs, okay? Every time that you're going to buy something, and in this case, you know, like join a course, buy something for yourself, ask this, what is it that you need it for? And the same thing, or the same thinking applies when it comes to choosing what kind of exam you need. So are you moving to another country? Or do you want to apply to a university? Do you just want to have the certification so you can show it when you go to an interview? So depending on what is your answer, you can just choose which of the exams that are available to you you can use, because it is also a matter of how much the exam costs, because they are quite pricey. So my advice is that if you want to sign up not for just the course, but to the exam because you feel ready, be sure that you are like 95 or 8% ready, because if you fail, you failed. They're not going to give you a second chance. So let's think in investment. Okay. Yes. Like investment of time and money. And also when I'm talking about time, more importantly, where are you directing your efforts? Because, for example, I have a multiple group of students, and I have a student that, for example, here in Spain, they need a C1 in order to work in a specific community, right, in the country. So the thing is that for the student to get that quicker, using the knowledge that she already has, she needs a much easier structured exam. Do you see? So that was my recommendation, in order for her to have just, you know, the piece of paper, to say it plainly. Okay. So it really depends on what you need.
Okay, I hope Coach Andy have answered the question. Any other question, guys? You could just put it in the chat box. We still have around perhaps 20 minutes until the Q&A session ends. Yep. Or maybe Zifa, you would like to ask any questions to Coach Andy?
Well, maybe for me, so I used to take my CEFR level test every year, right? Once a year. I want to ask that how do you maintain your level? So how do you keep your level as high as you want? Like I'm currently in C1.2, right? So I really want to maintain that level, although I don't speak English as I speak Bahasa.
Exposure. That's my answer. And let me explain why. For example, your first language in this case would be Bahasa. Am I right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So the thing is that imagine that you move to another country or you are working, even though Bahasa is your first language, imagine that you're working or you're exposed to English, I don't know, 20, no, that would be because the rest you would be sleeping. Let's say 16 hours a day, okay? And the rest, hours while like the time that you spend at home, maybe with friends and family, yes, during the week, yes, is in Bahasa, but the other hours are all in English and advanced English. I mean, yes, like teachers, colleagues, academia, all those things, right? So imagine that your exposure, even though you are in a non-English speaking country, is going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot. So your exposure to that language is going to always keep you on your toes when it comes to not losing it, you know? For instance, if you are a person who used to read and now you don't read that much, I can promise you that if I test your language in your first language, probably you have decreased not only in reading comprehension, but also in your use of vocabulary. So there you go. Everything is about exposure.
Thank you so much. That was really helpful. I'm going to practice my English more. So is there any other questions?
Okay, I have another direct message sent to me. Perhaps they also want to say anonymous, but don't worry guys, if you want to ask, just put in the chat box. You don't have to direct message to me, but I will read it for you guys. Hello, Coach Andy. Is it important to have a local speaker as a speaking partner or a speaking partner in general to improve our English? Thank you.
Well, it depends, because if you're planning to work with people who are in this specific English-speaking country or English-speaking context, okay, or maybe you are planning to study with people that are more within that specific sounding accent or, I would say yes, it would be beneficial, but not determinant. Okay, it would be beneficial in the sense that you will acquire a lingo, yes, which is part of the language. Lingo is like the way that we communicate within that group of people specifically. So you would be more fluent. You would, for instance, use specific vocabulary for the locals to understand. So it would be beneficial, but not determinant.
Okay, thank you once again, Coach Andy. I hope it answered your questions. I think Zifa, would you like to read the next question that's in the chat box? Perhaps Zifa have connection problems, but I will read. But I'll be glad to read it. Which is certificate preferred for applying job in Cambridge Assessment School? CFR certificate or IELTS certificate?
Well, this is not about my opinion. It's more about what the institution is asking, because maybe they have a preference. So always make sure that the institution or university, job place, immigration requirements, anything that you are applying to, they have a specific preference. Let me give you a very practical example. Right now, I have a student that is from Spain who moved to the United States, specifically to California. And the thing is that we were originally working on the Cambridge exam, but then the university that she wanted to specifically apply asked for her to do a TOEFL, yes, which is basically the certification exam that is mostly used in the United States and Canada. So do you see? We used and recycled all the information from the Cambridge and we shift, from structure. So this is, I would make sure what is it that I am asked for. And then I go back to the answer that I gave before, like, what is it that is more comfortable for you to use? That's what I would do.
Okay, thank you once again, Coach Andy, for the answer. Any question else? The Q&A session, we still have around 10 minutes. So please feel free to use the time.
Please take
I'm
your
loving
time.
your questions. Yeah, I'm loving your questions anyways, because they're not only, challenging for me, but in a way that, oh yeah, this or that. But I think that there's so much information missing around there that and bad publicity about so many things that we need to clarify and debunk all this myth. I think that we as educators is our, especially language teachers or coaches, it is our main purpose or job to do.
Kahaura, I think we got another questions in the chat box. I'm gonna read that out.
Okay.
So what is the specific difference between CEFR, TOEFL, and IELTS tests? I mean, like in the TOEFL, there are reading, listening, structure, and so on. And what about the others?
Okay, well, remember that when we're talking about exam certifications is the structure, the way that they're going to evaluate your skill, what makes it different, okay? But essentially, they're always going to evaluate the 4 skills plus grammar, okay? So if you're just curious about how it looks like, you can just enter, for instance, to Google and maybe download a TOEFL, a CEFR, IELTS, or Cambridge exam, and then you can compare. There are so many exam certifications out there. There's also another one called, for example, the TOEIC, that is specifically for business. There is another one called, which was it? Totally blank. But yeah, there are many out there that the Trinity, it came to me, the Trinity exam and so on, so many out there. The most important thing is that you also, if you are going to choose any of them, maybe my advice would be like, go not with tradition, but go with what is going to, since you're already paying, yes, go for one that is going to allow you to have more doors open, yes? And let me explain. You choose a university for a specific reason. You choose to do certain things for specific reasons. Until our society doesn't change in many ways, we still have to play the game inside the status quo. So choose the one that will open more doors to you. That's the only thing that I would say.
Thank you. Is there any other?
There are 2 more questions here. From Triana Makassar. I've taken TOEFL 2 times. Can I predict my CFR level according to my TOEFL score, or do I have to take the placement test first?
Okay, I have taken the TOEFL 2 times. Can I predict my CEFR level? Well, in a way, yes. But as I said, since they are structurally different, maybe it's easier for you, to do one structure rather than the other. So you can predict it, but it's not 100% for sure.
Okay, I hope that answers the question. Ziva, can you read the next question here in the chat box?
It's a bit personal, but Hanis, he said that, can you give me your contact number and number or your course where you teach?
Well, thank you. But you can DM me, through my Instagram or TikTok channel if you want.
Right. Thank you, Coach Andy.
We still have more time?
Perhaps until around 3 minutes more. Is there any more question for this next 3 minutes? Oh, and Coach Andy, would you please just type down your Instagram account? Oh, there. Okay, in chat box, it's already there.
Yeah.
So is there another question?
Please do use this time to maximize your opportunity, guys. You can ask anything to Coach Andy.
This is definitely a big opportunity to learn and to gain more knowledge regarding your English level. So
yes, of course. Maybe one last question for me, but it's more of, so I really love learning language. Right now, I'm currently learning Germany and also Japanese. And I would like to find a language that's perhaps related or closely related to English, because right now, perhaps I can say I'm really confident in English, and I want to learn a language that's similarly, so I can, use my time well to learn a language. Perhaps, Coach Andy, do you have any recommendation? I can learn this certain language or anything else, maybe?
I'm also curious about this.
This is an interesting one. And let me tell you something. A couple of years ago, I kind of asked myself this kind of question, okay, but, and this is one of the main reasons why I started delving into applied linguistics. It's because English is a hybrid. It's a hybrid.
Okay.
English is a Frankenstein. So the thing is that since English is not one of the pure language that we might find out there, okay, the thing is that English is one of those languages that they have a little bit of everything. Yes. So to answer your question is kind of no, it depends on what is it that you want and what you need, basically, because English is a Frankenstein, and since it has many parts that's why, for example, if you're a Spanish speaker and you use more advanced vocabulary, you will find more than 60% of the vocabulary is something that is familiar to the Spanish speaker. Or if you're an Italian speaker, the same thing, because they are basically with Latin roots. So, and not to mention French and Germanic roots. Therefore, this is really complex to answer because English is a Frankenstein.
Okay, thank you once again, Coach Andy. Perhaps I would like to learn, if not French or maybe Spain, if I have the time for it. Okay.
What I would say is this: be practical with your time and efforts, meaning that languages are all beautiful and they're all necessary. But it is also true that our time, efforts, and funds are limited sometimes. And what I would say is to allocate all these in something that you will actually use. If you're just doing it for the soul, just to make your soul more beautiful, go ahead and learn, one of the dead languages, learn Latin, something that is very, very specific. But if you are thinking to actually use it in, for work or academia or something like that, try, the path that you're going through, which is Japanese and German. I think that these are really smart choices. So I would continue on that path.
Okay, thank you, Coach Andy, for the advice. Perhaps that's all for the Q&A sessions today. Unfortunately, our time is very, very limited, but I had a lot of fun reading your question and also listening to Coach Andy's answers. Before closing these meetings, let's have a participants from Indonesia, perhaps, in giving their impression after joining this International English Training Class Batch 5 by VLC Indonesia. I would like to invite, perhaps just now, we have Hani, who gives a lot of questions to us, perhaps. to give their impressions. Hello, Henny, are you there? How do you feel after joining today's topic? Hi, hello, Henny. Okay, from the chat, it's okay. Okay, can you give us any impressions after you joined today's sessions? I think Henny's typing. He cannot open his mic perhaps, but it's okay. Henny, please type your answer in the chat box.
Okay, very interesting.
Oh, okay.
And very, very good, Coach. Thank you for your explanation. Very, very perfect explanation for us. Thank you for all. Thank you for Coach, for Andy. I'm very, very appreciate for you.
Hey, thank you very much, Henny, for the impressions. Maybe Zifa, you could ask any other persons next to call out.
All right, so I think I'm gonna pick a person to give their little perspective on the today's activities reflection. So may I have maybe perhaps Miss Triana from Makassar? How do you feel about today's activity? Is Miss Triana here?
Hi, hello, Miss Triana. Perhaps you could pick another one, Zifa. I think there's a problem with the connection.
Miss Triana is responding. So how about we have Friska from Jakarta? How do you feel about today's activity? Does that mean that I have to pick another person?
Or maybe Zifa, you would like to give your own impressions? That's fine.
All right, then. I'm very honored to be here. I'm very glad I got to gain so many more knowledge regarding this CEFR and all the English levels. And yeah, I think it's going to be really useful in the future about all of the knowledge that I've gained today. Thank you so much for Coach Andy.
Yes, I cannot agree much more on you, Zifa. Thank you very much once more, Coach Andy. And for Coach Andy, perhaps, what do you think about VLC Indonesia after becoming, again, one of the speakers here?
Well, thank you so much for your answers. Sorry, for your questions. Thank you so much for your time. And I truly believe it when I say that this is a wonderful opportunity for us speakers to share our knowledge with you educators and learners that are in this group. I am really honored every time that Mr. Bacco invites me over, and I always tend to say yes. Because I am passionate about what I do, and I am passionate to share knowledge with my colleagues, and more importantly, to learn from all of you. So what do I believe VLC Indonesia, or what is VLC Indonesia for me? One of the best platforms to share information and learn. So yeah, it's wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Coach Andy. Okay, and perhaps before we close this session, for Mr. Baker, would you like to say something to Coach Andy? Perhaps the floor is yours. Hi, hello, Mr. Baker, are you there?
I think that he is networking as always.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine. Okay. Thank you once again to Coach Andy, to everyone, to my panel host, and also to Mr. Bako. Finally, I want to say thanks a lot for Coach Andy once again to share an amazing topic with us. You really inspire us to, achieve more, and also to move forward, and also to improve our English skills.
And also, I want to say big thanks to all participants who have participated today from all over Indonesia. And thank you so much for your participation in the first day. And do not forget that we will still have another activity tomorrow and every weekend on the month of August. And also, VLC Indonesia does not only focus on English, but we also have Arabic, for example. So stay tuned for that. And yeah, we will see you next time.
Right. And once more, perhaps, Mr. Baker, are you there? Would you like to give us a closing statement before we close this session? Or is your internet still perhaps having a problem? Hi, hello, Mr. Baker.
Maybe it's not working.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's not working. Okay, that's fine. Once again, my big thanks to Coach Andy, to Mr. Beku, to all these participants, and also to my amazing panel host, Zifa. We had such a lot of fun today, and we also learned a lot of new knowledge. I am Haura, and also my dear panel host.
I am Ziva, and thanks so much to Kak Haura as well, to Coach Andy. And yes, don't forget, we will still have a special session tomorrow and every weekend on the month of August. And please visit VLC's Indonesia's platform. You can check it on Instagram at VLC_Indonesia and the YouTube channel on VLC Indonesia. Have a nice day and see you there. And don't forget, you will fill in the attendance form. And don't forget to take a screenshot. Thank you so much, everyone, for participating.
Thank you, everyone. Don't forget to follow Coach Andy's Instagram too. Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you, Coach Andy, once more.
Bye. Thank you.